Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is In A Barbie World,
The podcast where we look at every Barbie movie from 1987 to the present day.
from fairy tales to literary classics.
From Mariposa to Mermaidia.
It's time to get unboxed,
Readjust your lippy
rock the ball gown,
and let's get our Barbie on.
Barbie and the Three Musketeers. I have waited so long to see this one.
And
It's been like in my sidelines for this whole time. This is like what, movie 16, something like that.
it's in that ballpark, yeah.
And I have been so excited this whole time for it, and I went into this really hoping that it wouldn't be a disappointment.
And
It's one of the best movies ever made.
I'm so glad you liked it, because with one exception, I fucking loved it. And I was so depressed after our last recording. I mean, we were both. I think they were putting out a podcast suicide watch for us both after the last episode, where we were not only thinking that was a shit movie, but it can't get, we're looking into the future and nothing can get better. And I put this on. And there was this one thing on the cover of the DVD. Oh, and this DVD worked, by the way.
Nice.
First one for months. There's one thing that it says something on. I can't see it from where I'm recording, but it says something like, it describes a story and then says, and they're going to get their high heels on and go. It's something really sexist is in the blurb in the back cover. But oh mate, I love this one. This is the best one since.
Oh my god.
I don't know when, to be honest with you.
Well, like, this is the thing. There's going to be a real conversation at the end of this episode, because fucking hell, like, this movie. And like, I've been so excited because I bloody love the Three Musketeers as a story. Like, I did a whole year where I became obsessed with it, and I watched every adaptation going, and like, I got really wound up in all of its like lore and aesthetic and all of this, and so I was so excited for Barbie to take it on, because she tends to do literary adaptations quite well, and we've recently had Christmas Carol, which I believe same director, William Lau.
Yeah, I mean, William Lau is going to do most of them from now on, I think, if I remember rightly. And
he's done like a lot of the really good ones up until this point as well. So I was really excited, and you've got like obviously 4 Barbies and a cat, and I was on Letterboxd, and I just like skimmed through some of the reviews before I watched it, and it was like the reviews made me so pumped to watch it. And then I sat down and like, mate, I laughed, I cried, I was empowered. Like, where was this movie when I was 10?
I also, this is the first time, I think, that I've wished one of them would go on longer.
Yes! Yes! Where's the sequel?
I wanted another 10 minutes. It's my only criticism of it's a bit rushed, and another 10 minutes. It's only an hour and 15, hour and 20, normal level.
Yeah.
If they made it an hour and a half, I could have.
Oscars call it.
Yeah, and I did my usual. I started writing notes, slagging it off, and then just gave up after 5 minutes. So
honestly, I have barely any notes,
because,
and all of the notes are like caps lock, and they're just me like squeeing over things.
It's I mean, I do feel this might be, it's the end of that era. Yeah, I think you called it like Phase 1 Barbie Cinematic Universe. I mean, I might put it down as a Phase 2, but whatevs. But it's the last historical or literary adaptation we're ever going to have.
Which is really sad.
I know, right?
Much like the Muppets, this is a brilliant forum for that kind of retelling.
I mean, it's got about as much in common with the novel as any of these adaptations have.
Yeah.
But, like, fuck all.
And, like, who cares? No one wants a beat by beat remake
because
of an 1844 novel. Who's going to relate to that?
Exactly. So it just takes the general idea and barbifies it.
Oh man,
and I mean, there's stuff in here. I'll give you another. So have we spoke? We haven't the cat. Yeah. Did you know? Right. You might have noticed. Did you notice there was a play with? Is the cat called Miel or something like that? It's
Miette.
Miette. That's right. There's one that says play along with Miette. I wondered what that was about.
Yeah.
I guessed. I nearly bought the interactive Miette on eBay for £20 just to see how that even works, because I was that into it. I didn't, thankfully, but I mean, you know about A Fool and His Money, and you know me, but it was £20, and I thought, well, what does it do? I'd watch it again if the cat was rolling around or something, and even if the cat is a little bit scrappy do, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. It's on the verge of being dislikable, unlikable, but like it never quite gets there. It pulls itself back every time,
and it's not in the film enough. But I was just thinking, interactive cat. I mean, I'm guessing it responds to some sounds on the DVD or something. I may still do it, depending how this recording goes. But mate, this is just the apex. It's commercial because there's 5 Barbies.
Oh my god, there's so many Barbies.
And there's this wonderful, Nicole plays this character in the credits and stuff like that. The Barbie film Wikipedia is just fucking chock-a-block full of characters played by Barbies and who played them, and they were previously in this film, and it's everything that these films were meant to be. It's all about selling toys.
It really is. It really is. Like, it's genius for selling toys, and it has absolutely no right to be this good.
Absolutely.
The audacity of how good this film is fucking crazy. And one thing I really noticed early on is that it feels very influenced by Shrek at this point.
For sure. It's got that kind of postmodern thing going on.
But like not too much, and it's not tiresome, and it's the songs are all sort of like montage, like somebody else is very sort of Brother Bear Tarzan, like somebody's singing the songs, and then like stuff happens while a voiceover sings the songs. Yeah, you sort of rather than like in universe.
They sort of kind of fill out the montage. I mean, I'm not sure the songs really match a film set in 16th century Paris or whatever it's meant to be, but so it opens with this amazing credit sequence, and you get the first song that also plays over the credits, which I paused the film, went onto Spotify, found and downloaded and added to all of my driving playlists. It slaps, like. I mean, it's such a good song, and that's how this movie opens. Yeah, they've all the songs sort of sound like I'm trying to reference something that you'd understand, but they all feel sort of like pop. They're like 2000s-y, like. They all feel like Natalie Imbruglia's Torn, right? Yeah. They all kind of sound in that kind of. There's a manic pixie dream girl type girl singing guitar-led pop songs, and it's Taylor Swift. For a sort of a post-country Taylor Swift for a today audience. It's like Lover album Taylor Swift. It's like Paper Rings. Yeah, absolutely. And I like that kind of music, so it kind of appealed. No. Does it work in context of the film? We could have a debate on that. But are they absolutely solid little pop tracks? I too went to see if there was a soundtrack. but Then I got distracted on eBay with the cat toy, and I never followed through with it. But I literally did pause it to say, "What the fuck's this about?" And and it's got that. So Shrek's absolutely right. There's there's the fact it's not too tight. And we talked about this before, but when it didn't work. So remember Diamond Castle. That kind of I'm set everywhere. Thing didn't work. They didn't pull it off there at all. Whereas here there's a sufficient enough world building of like 16th century Paris that you can allow all of the like what's that word when it's like out of time, out of place, anachronistic isms. Anachronisms. Yeah. Anachronistic. Yeah, that is the right word. Yes. It's a little bit that, but like it's fine. Yeah, like one of the characters speaks as if she's from the fucking 2000s.
Yeah,
but it's okay because she's only got like 8 lines, and that's all right. I feel there's a bit of winking to us as the audience all the time going on. Not quite fourth wall breaking, but there's something. There's something about it. It's just saying, look, you dealt with Shrek.
This is the world we live in now, and we're acknowledging that. We're not trying to push through with stuff that, you know, we're adhering to the world that we know the children are being brought up in, and we're trying to meet them halfway by keeping our like Barbie feet on the floor, but acknowledging that these other things have happened and that perhaps we need to like do that. Really good use of slow-mo in this movie.
Really? What? Explain.
There's just they use slow. Did you not notice? They use slow-mo.
I didn't notice.
It's very Zack Snyder, that like at the beginning where she's like somersaulting over like fences and stuff.
Yes.
They like slow the action down. They do it in slow-mo, and it's like wow, I've never seen that in a Barbie movie before, and it's really cool because it's so gymnastic and acrobatic. I mean, they choreographed.
They do like that move that she's got, hasn't she? Don't they? They play that. Oh, we've got a new animation. Let's use this. And I was thinking initially, I hope they don't do this all the time. But as it turned out, they pull back on it a little bit. So.
And it's good. It's interesting, and it's you've never seen Barbie like this before. Like this was a real. They trod the line so well of this is a real like kick-ass Barbie, like she's coming out of this like 90s feminism, because Barbie characters up until this point in the movies have not been inactive, but they've not been like pow pow in a way that you might have assumed has happened up until this point. So this is the first time we really get to see kick-ass Barbie, as it were, like power woman Barbie. The opening is set on a farm, and she dreams of being a musketeer, and she's practicing in the farmyard with all of her moves and her swords, and that was very like Quest for Camelot for me, which was a massive movie for me growing up, which again opens with a girl that dreams to be one of Arthur's Knights of the Round Table and wants to be a knight rather than a damsel, and she's practicing in the farmyard, and she's like bored with her mundane life. But in that movie, her mom is like set against her doing that, but like no one else kind of is. Whereas in this movie, her mom is 100% backing her dream and being like, yep, I said when you were 17 you could move to Paris and learn to be a musketeer. Okay, great. So already you're like, oh, amazing, a supportive parent figure, like that's really fun. And of course it's a mom and the dad is dead, and that's really cool because it's Barbie and it's women. But then what this movie does that Quest for Camelot doesn't quite touch on is that we're in a world where women don't become musketeers, and it's not just like a throwaway like, oh, won't it be fun when she becomes a musketeer at the end of the movie because like no woman has done it before. It's like a full-on fucking subplot. Like the patriarchy is the antagonist of this movie. Like it's mad.
Yeah, not going to disagree, and as we'll find out later, she's not the only person with this dream. Two things just to calm your squeeness.
Okay.
Again, something I think we've mentioned before, when mothers appear, a Barbie mother appears, she looks the same fucking age.
Yeah, she looks like... but then, like, all the Disney princess mums do as well.
Yeah, it's just like, I wish they could just show her. There is a little something. There's a little puffiness. There's a little something. But there's nothing wrong with growing old, he says. And
to be fair, she could be like, what, Barbie's 17, so feasibly this woman, let's say she had Barbie at the age of, like, 20.
Well, she could probably have the child at 14. It's the 16th century in France, right? She could be... in her early 20s, in her 20s, well, early 30s. It's just, if I was watching it with the sound off, I'd assumed it was her sister. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
But one thing I do like is, yes, the animals talk, but only to each other.
Yes, I noted that as well. I was like, oh, okay, we've got some talking animals again, and that was what we had, I think, in The Princess and the Pauper, which is why that worked so well.
I don't mind a talking animal. Yeah, I don't even mind the animal kingdom talking to each other. But and Barbie may well talk to the cat, but there's no sense that the cat is talking back to her, or the horse. And you get, people talk to their pets, and
Yeah.
they look at you with their eyes thinking, what? But they do, So it just felt, I was down with that. And, I've been down on that fucking bird in Thumbelina, and I detested was it a cat again in The Christmas Carol?
Yeah,
I know you like the cat. I hated it. And obviously, our touchstone of hated animals are the dogs, the diamond dogs from the Diamond Castle.
The diamond dog.
Whereas both the horse, which is called Alexander, after Alexander Dumas, and Miette, the cat, I'm down with them. I know there's another animal
Brutus.
later. Yeah, which is just...
Which we'll come to.
We'll come to. But yeah, I thought it was fine. I liked it. She was setting up, she set up a sort of a scarecrow attack thing, and she was practicing. And like you say, her mother turns up. Her mother goes, don't really want you to be a musketeer. She goes, but Mum, you promised. She said, no, here you go. Here's the money. Go. You're going tomorrow. Come and have dinner. And I'm thinking, oh, psych out, Mum. Like it. But there is a little bit of darkness here. I know, her dad was a musketeer. And her dad is dead. One assumes.
Yeah. Well,
musketeering.
Not told, but...
There is a bit of a backstory here. And the fact that her dad was a musketeer is meant to give her the in when she gets to Paris. But...
Yeah. Completely. And again, just to draw parallels to Magic Sword Quest of Camelot, that opens with Kayleigh's dad, who was a Knight of the Round Table, dying. And we see his dead body. But Kayleigh still wants to grow up to become a Knight of the Round Table. Whereas in a Barbie movie, I don't think... There's no death in a Barbie movie.
And I'm not.
No one ever dies.
No, not even when they should, or go through magic holes in the floor. There's some terrible fates for people who are turned into mirrors for the rest of their lives and things like that. But no one dies. You're right. Or there's a threat to kill everything in the fucking ocean. There's peril. But
there's stakes.
No, I'm right. I'm not saying I want a Barbie movie where her motivation is to repeat her father who died horribly in battle, and she's been held back because she's a woman, because that would be trite and rote. And this is fine. It's just there. And remember, again, we're not the audience.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be death does happen in animated movies, and it's incredibly upsetting. Yeah. Are you hearing me, Pixar? But that isn't what a Barbie movie's for. Barbie's sort of it's not as deep as that. However, this one's got more going on.
This one is pretty fucking deep.
Yeah, I was going to say I've just dissed the whole thing. Then we're going to talk about how deep it is over the next 17 hours probably.
Oh my god! So we get to Paris, and immediately this fucking dog starts fucking shit up, genuinely fucking shit up. It eats her letter of recommendation to join the Musketeers. And we're like, who the fuck is this ugly ass dog? And so already he's a threat. And she immediately goes up to the guy. This thing, it's as you say, it's pacey. And she's like, I want to join the Musketeers. And very reasonably, he's like, my Musketeers need to have proven themselves in some way. They need to have fought in a war, or they need to have had more than just practicing fencing in their barn at home, which is valid. Now, he doesn't then say, we can put you on a training course to become a musketeer, because the patriarchy, but it is a bit you can't just you're 17, you can't just become, because all of the other musketeers that we see are not 17, they're middle-aged men. So you kind of get it.
And that's fine. You'd hope there's a training school or something, and she wasn't dissed for being a girl, or certainly not by that fella.
Not by him.
Yeah. Obviously, others do, but that wasn't the you can't because you're a young girl. It's you can't because you've got no fucking experience. And you know what? That's true in many parts of life. That is an important lesson to learn. I fancy being a doctor, Emily. Tomorrow I'm going to be a doctor. Is that okay if I operate on you? I'm going to be a surgeon. What I've done is I've practiced with my operation game for 17 years. If you want your Charlie horse removed, I think I can do it.
Yeah.
Give me a 9-volt battery and some tweezers, and I will sort you out. But
we'll do our best.
But yeah, no. Again, the audience that it's aimed at.
Yeah.
But I think that rejection is, to my mind, fine. It does show to a lack of fucking understanding on behalf of her mother, on behalf of on Barbie herself.
Again, she just wanted to support her dream.
Actually, I keep calling her Barbie. What's her name in this film?
Corinne.
Corinne, that's right. I'll call her Corinne from now on. There may be quite a few names I need to remember soon.
But yeah, so Corinne is unhappy and goes away quite dejected. We're living in Paris where there's a prince regent at the moment, or like a duke regent. Like somebody is filling it because the prince is only like 16.
Louis the something.
Louis the something.
Prince Louis the 15th or something. So yes, there's his cousin is ruling in his stead. I think it's his cousin. His cousin, yes.
Philippe. I can't even. I was like, I'm sorry. What? It's fucking Tim Curry.
It is again back for his. He's back from his role as the rat in the Nutcracker. Is that the film he was in? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. He was in Barbie. If we ignore the rockets from outer space, #1, the Nutcracker as the Rat King, and he's back here in full fucking force. I was like, that is not who I think I am.
This is a nice way to bookend the Barbie season, right? It's Tim Curry. Yeah. He's back. He's back again. It's Tim Curry as Philippe.
And it's so good because Philippe comes on screen, and as an adult watching a movie, you're like, there's our antagonist. Voiced by Tim Curry, looks frightening, is suspicious, but the movie plays it so you don't realize he's like the antagonist. Like it's a bit of a mystery for like a good half an hour. You're not meant to like realize that he's the villain.
And it's
for ages.
It's at least an act. You know, we're still in the first act. We don't really find out to the middle of the second act. It's a good, like you say, it's a good 25 minutes before.
Which is long.
It's
for a
really, it's really. You know, normally he'd be twiddling his moustache upon arrival, but I mean it's not a surprise when it happens, but it's not explicitly said,
and it's mature. It's mature that they were like, oh, we're gonna do a thing here. We meet the prince, who is ugly. Like he's really disappointingly ugly, this Ken. But that's fine because I was like, oh, does that mean is he gonna be a love interest? I don't know, because he's not hot, and he's like super into like inventing, and that's his like thing. He wants to be an inventor because it's like Renaissance Paris.
Ripping off Montgolfier and his balloon.
Yeah.
But there is one thing. Oh no, have we got there yet? Have we got to the castle yet? No, we're not.
She bumps into these 3 other Barbies. And she like upsets their maids that work in the castle, and she like upsets their day, but she finds herself with a job as a maid in the castle, having to confront these women, being like, oh shit, okay, I guess we all have to be maids together now. And these women are understandably annoyed because it's like you made my day really difficult, but then, as is always in a Barbie movie, their kindness and purity come through, but they're not pushovers, these women. They're like, you fucked us up. You know, she like upset the roses and messed up the floor and stuff, which is what happens in the original novel, and to a point. And eventually she's allowed to like dorm with these maids. So Corinne finds herself working as a maid in the castle with these 3 other maids. And that's where we're at.
Can we just stop? There is something, the one thing that really bugged me.
Okay.
Little things bug me all the time, but this thing actually almost got a demerit. They're in France. Ooh. It's called a chateau. Yeah. They don't have castles in France. I appreciate Americans.
Also, everybody's talking like this in Paris.
I know. So. I'm all right with that, but I think there are other French words they use, but they don't use chateau. No, the Louis and Philippe and they've all got Frenchy names, and they look like Frenchy people, and then they call it a fucking castle, and I'm just going, call it a chateau, please. And then I did allow it to bug me a little bit,
okay,
but I'll live
because there was nothing else.
Well, I think if that's what I'm criticising, I think that should tell. I'm not criticising. I haven't mentioned the animation. I haven't mentioned gaudy colour schemes. I haven't even mentioned Miette's teeth. Right?
Yeah.
I think our audience know full well that if I'm finding nothing that's horrendous to pick on, we're on a good one here.
We're on a good one. So she becomes a maid, and she earns the trust and respect of these other women quite quickly, again by just being pure of heart and kind, which is always a good lesson to learn as a child. And the turning point is Louis is in the castle, and they're having a conversation about how tomorrow is his 17th birthday and he shall resume his rightful place as heir of the throne, and Philippe will step down as regent. And at the moment, you think Philippe's cool with this. That's Tim Curry. You think Louis is a bit apprehensive about becoming king, but it's fine. And then the maids are like sweeping the stairs, and then the chandelier above them suddenly starts to fall, and it falls in slow motion. And they manage to push Louis out the way. And then as the chandelier smashes onto the staircase, debris starts flying at all four maids in slow motion, and every single one of them takes a turn to like shatter this debris using their gymnastic skills, their resourcefulness. They like use their mops and brooms to like deflect things that are coming. Like they could have all, if this was Final Destination, they would have all fucking died in this moment. But
it was a Final Destination moment. Yes, absolutely.
Very Final Destination. But they like deflect it, and then there's just a moment where they all look at each other and they're like, wait, what the fuck? And we find that somebody cut the rope to the chandelier, and Philippe is super mad about it. But like, again, it's under the guise of like, hey, that nearly killed the king. Make sure that doesn't happen again. And it's very loaded. And he's got this sidekick who literally has an eye patch and is like evil. Like, he's so evil, this sidekick. But all of the women turn to each other and they're like, what? Like, where did you learn to do that? Like, how did you do that? And we have this camaraderie of like, I have always learned how to do that. Like, I've been training all my life to be a musketeer. I really want to be a musketeer. And all four of them have had the same dream, and they've all always wanted to be a musketeer. And it is fucking incredible, and it just gets better from here because there is an old woman that works in the castle called Helen, who's just been in the background by this point, and she's like a wizened old lady that hunches over and uses a stick, and she comes up to the girls and she's like, follow me. And they're like, oh god, are we in trouble? Because she's kind of their boss. There's an overarching boss who's like a mean spinstery lady that's in charge of the castle.
Literally
like,
called
don't talk to the prince.
Madame de Bossé.
Yeah. She's like, don't talk to the prince and clean this up, like blah blah blah, all of this stuff. And Helen's always been just sort of there. So they're all like, what the fuck was that? And Helen takes them to this secret passage in the castle, to this old room where the musketeers used to train before they moved to new quarters.
Yeah.
And is like, and like Karate Kids that shit. And oh god, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, I don't even know where to begin. They're in this secret room, and all four of them have this dream to become a musketeer, and all four of them are like, fuck the patriarchy, how dare the men tell us that we're not allowed to be musketeers. And Helen has clearly also been training to be a musketeer all of her life, but she's like 80, so she's never gonna have
my presumption was that she used to train them or something. There's some interestingly, unless I missed it, her backstory isn't incredibly fleshed out, but the whole wizened old lady bit is a bit of a con on her half.
She like straightens up.
And this is where I'd have liked another 10 minutes of the movie. I'd like to have known where this was coming from. What I will say is, do you remember when we had a chat about some of the future movies and I got overexcited what Princess Charm's school might be?
Yeah.
I don't mind anymore, because this is what I want. This is what I want. I want secret rooms where weapons and training dummies and people can learn to be superhuman athletes with weaponry and stuff like that.
Like, it's so exciting. They one by one they take their weapon of choice off the wall, and it's a frickin' Barbie movies. So Barbie gets the like rapier, but then another one gets fans, and another one gets ribbons, and another one gets a slingshot, and one by one they attempt to like attack Helen and show off their skill sets, and their skill sets are pretty good, but not as good as Helen's.
And this is like
amazing.
And it's like a crossover with like some of my stuff on the Asian Cinema Film Club. This is a martial arts movie trope, you know, where there's 5 guys and they've all good at one weapon or something, but when they come together it's murder, and it's like that. And I know it's a trope, I know that, but and some of the weapons were like shite, like rhythmic gymnastics ribbons, like, and fans. But
no, fans are a really cool weapon. I love it when fans are used in weaponry, because it goes against, fans have a whole language, and it was meant, I know you know the history of this, but I always find it really brilliant where women get to utilize that femininity and that patriarchy trying to hide them in plain sight, and they use it as a weapon. They weaponize that, but normally they're weaponized by having a sharp metal sort of edge, which isn't really what these ones do, and I think the ribbons as well, you know. But it was cool because at least Barbie literally has a sword, rapier, as you say. Yeah, and they all learn to use swords, and they start this training process, and it's really good because it shows how like intense and exhausting it is. And Helen's like, right, see you this time, same place, same time tomorrow, girls. And as she leaves, they all like collapse to the floor. And like, and it just so good. It shows the toll of the work that they're putting in already. So we're like, oh wow, they're like working together as a team, and they're working really hard to earn these skills and to do this stuff. So it's freaking amazing. If you're not even gonna watch this movie, just Google that scene. Like, it's just so good. Do you think grinning? So there's Kareen has replaced another character, Constance, who in the novel Constance is D'Artagnan's love interest. Yeah. Do you think she was also one, or that she was also like wanted to be one, but then no one ever found out, or that they were just, or like Helene was waiting for this to happen? This I want a prequel. I want a Helene story to find out what she's been waiting for. Her deal and I should fucking criticise this, right? But I'm not going to, because it's just charming and brilliant in the context of a Barbie movie. And all of the 3 women, they have like, they're the typical Barbie things where you've got blonde Barbie, then you've got the like redhead, you've got the black one, and then you've got the sort of mixed race one. And then they all have their little like bits where one of them's like very overtly feminine and dainty, one of them's Barbie, one of them's like a bit sassier and like she plays the violin, and then one of them's like lovey-dovey and overly romantic. But like, they feel fleshed out. They don't just feel like pins that have been hung on these characters. They feel, for a Barbie movie, considering we're dealing with essentially 4 protagonists, like they're their own characters. For a Barbie movie, they're fairly 3-dimensional. Do you want some Barbie wiki yes, facts? I do. Okay, so about the girls. So they are played by other Barbie dolls. Teresa, Nikki, and Summer, who are dolls, you know, they're in the range. Yep. Summer was the co-star of Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus. Teresa was the co-star in Barbie and the Diamond Castle. She was that one. And Nikki was her buddy in Barbie and a Christmas Carol. So nice. So there's sort of I think that's the thing about this movie. This movie just feels like it's pulling in everything we had before, has realised that Shelley Kelly's just need to fuck right off. Dead, yeah. And deal with the range. There's loads of other stuff I could go on about. There's loads of allusions to the... That's what it says. I've literally picked that off the... I'm doing the worst kind of podcast is when people just read the Wikipedia page, right? But I was just going to say, there are loads of little subtle allusions to the original story, even though this is totally different.
Also, did you know that Tim Curry was Cardinal Richelieu in the Disney
I did
Three
know
Musketeers?
Of course I knew that. The 90s one.
So they must have said, Tim, fancy another go at the Three Musketeers?
You got to do another go at Barbie, another go at the Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
He was like, sign me up.
But
oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, there's loads of little allusions. And anyway, we're going to get to let's keep on going.
So the next thing we have is the interaction with the Prince Louis. He gets in another attempt to murder him, Philippe lets his hot air balloon that he's dallying around with go, and Corinne spots this, and she manages to leap onto the balloon, rescue him. They land the balloon, and they have a whole conversation where my notes are literally, "Oh, the Prince seems really sweet," and then she goes, "Well, it's always been my dream to be a musketeer." And he goes, "Girls can't be musketeers." And I was like, oh, never mind. And Corinne
somebody had to say it, though, didn't they, to provide the impetus for them to compete. It's just a shame it was him.
But no, it's brilliant that it's him.
I suppose.
Because it's this whole idea of like at the end of Aladdin when the Sultan's like, "Oh wait, I can change the rules. Adoy, Jasmine, you can marry whoever you want. I don't give a shit." Like, it's that. So you needed the person in power to learn a lesson and grow, because men don't understand how women have to deal with society, that we deal with a different world to you in lots of ways, and especially in 16th century Paris. To him, it's like, of course it's laughable. Like, women have never been musketeers. Women never will be musketeers. Why the hell do you want to be a musketeer? That's laughable. And she's like, clearly proven herself to be worthy of something, at least, because she saved his fucking life. And then she gets really angry and is like, fuck you. I can do what I want. Go shit yourself. And there's a really lovely moment where her dad used to say something about like, you can be anything you want, just believe in yourself, or something. And they both say it at the same time, and there's no conversation around it, but the implication is that Prince Louis may have known her dad when he was a musketeer growing up, which again is very Quest for Camelot. The love interest in that, Garrett knew Sir Lionel, Kayleigh's dad, when he was a Knight of the Round Table, and he believed in him and he pushed him, and they share that bond where they both knew her father. And there's an implication of it here, but again, they don't quite flesh it out. And it would have been nice,
yes,
but it's fine because I will take that implication.
Yeah, again, just another example where a couple of lines are fleshing out, but I don't want to shit on the movie.
Yeah, no, and like that's a positive note, that we just like wanted a little bit more confirmation around there. But it's actually also very sweet that it could be taken either way, where they both just have this dreamy thought of like, oh, you can be anything you want. And then of course she's like, well, I want to be a musketeer, and he's like, go fuck yourself, you stupid girl. And she's like, go fuck yourself, you stupid prince. But she leaves him with one of those looks where he's like, maybe I should think before I speak going forward. That did not. And
remember, he's 16 at this point.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
So he's got some learning to do, and he's not a hero in this film either. He's
an inventor. He's nerdy. He's weird. He doesn't want responsibility. He just wants to dick about, and he's very similar to the prince in Ever After. Wants to shirk responsibility, and like this thing. It felt so reminiscent of all of these 90s movies set in these sort of time periods that I absolutely adored growing up, and it seemed to have influenced this as well in a big way, in a really good way. So that's great. So we've met the prince, but we don't necessarily know. It's not like Island Princess where they're immediately like, I'm in love with this person. It's like, oh no, we've had like a conversation and like grown and learned things and stuff. So hooray, tick. My notes don't resume until the ball, so I'm gonna have to look at the wiki because I was just enjoying the movie. I think Philippe again tries to murder Louis. We find out for sure that he's the real antagonist and he wants to kill Louis so he can become king of all Paris. Very understandable motivation. They manage to convolute it so all the maids get kicked out of being maids at the castle, but they're continuing their musketeer training. And we know that Louis is having a big ball for his 17th birthday, where he essentially will then become crowned to be king or whatever. So, but they've also learned in this time that Philippe is trying to kill him, and that they need to stop that. So that brings us, if you don't mind me skipping through that, because it's all just very well done. It's very pacey. It's very good.
It's
very
not a
enjoyable.
huge amount. I mean, the main stuff is at the ball, right?
It's like 10 minutes of the movie, and then we're at the ball. Oh boy. I mean, number one, you want to get me to like your movie? Put a fucking ball in it. Number two, make it a masquerade ball. Number three, get someone to dance with the villain in like a sexy way. Like, yes, thank you very much. I will take that. Om nom nom nom.
Are you all right for one point of order? The
Yes.
point of a masquerade ball is to hide your identity, not be announced as you walk in.
Right. I know, but like the masquerade has always been more of a sort of aesthetic
Indeed,
than anything like that.
absolutely. But it doesn't.
But we have a lovely.
Does enable you to have 4 fucking puns of various quality.
So good. So like the first person that's announced is Countess de Winter, Madame de Winter, who is usually the sort of side antagonist, and I was looking forward to seeing who she would be, and they easily could have made the Madame de Bossy Countess de Winter, Madame de Winter, but they didn't. They just had her as like a random person at the ball, and that's fine because I love that character, and I think it would have done her a disservice to have made her this other character. So I like that she was just a sort of cameo, which again they didn't need to do because no one's coming to this to be like, oh, I hope there's more references to Alexander Dumas's The Three Musketeers, like, but they gave them to us anyway. So I was like, yum yum, I'll take that. Barbie then they realize that they need to give fake names. So Barbie announces herself as the Lady Barbecue, which is
barbecue, yeah.
And they all do that. They all give like punny.
Yeah. So Teresa, right, is Duchess Ivana Party. Nikki is Abby Birthday, and the worst of all is the Countess Head of Lettuce. Where did that come from?
Like, I just want to be in that writer's room where they're like, let's do that. Everyone was like, yeah, great.
If I was 6, and the Head of Lettuce would have been the fucking funniest thing in the world. Oh my God. But it has no place being here or anything, but, you know, they're just making them up. Enjoyable. But it's funny. It's funny. I liked it.
So enjoyable. So they've managed to get themselves these gorgeous masks and these which don't really hide their face because they're kind of lacy, but whatever, I don't care. They're beautiful. Their gowns, every single one of them has like a beautiful ball gown that's very intricate, and I would have loved to have had on a doll when I was a kid. So really great stuff from the marketing team there, coinciding with the doll team. Like good stuff. Really fun. They all get to dance. Obviously, Corinne dances with the prince because he's just naturally drawn to her charisma and chemistry. He doesn't even realize it's her, but he picks her out of the crowd, very Cinderella-esque, and like, I'm here for it. They all take turns like dancing with the villain to try and keep him distracted and figure out how to foil his plan, which again, yum, give it to me. And they're keeping an eye out on like what the hell's going to happen, like what are we going to have to do here, like we know that there's going to be a dance with swords. Most people get a fake sword, but we know that the villains have smuggled in real swords through the underground passages. So there's a threat here. Who has a real sword? Who has a fake sword? Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Oh, man. I've literally written as my note, holy fucking She-Ra shit. When the shit hits the fan, wayo, when the action starts to happen and we realize that there's a threat and we realize that the real swords are here and the girls have to spring into action.
Also, quick comment, the actual Musketeers are fucking shit.
Yeah, they're so bad at it. They're like stormtroopers.
After all that, you've got to be really good, they're taken out pretty fucking quickly. Now, I appreciate it's a plot and blah, 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 but... And also, to be fair, the fella... Oh, what's the guy called? The
like lead musketeer, the like head of the musketeers.
He's got
Monsieur Treville.
Yeah, Monsieur Treville is I think he fully acknowledges this. He's not.
Yeah,
He doesn't. He doesn't. He does let the girls just get on and do their thing because
this thing, nobody tries to stop them.
No.
And what their thing is oh man, it's fucking incredible. They could have just come in with cloaks hiding weapons, as is the way in most of these things, and then whipped their cloaks off. But no, we have Sailor Moon moments for every single girl as she is essentially lifted up in a cloud of glitter, strips away her ball gown to have a color coordinated musketeer vibed outfit with thigh-high boots and little ruffles and a hat, and it's so fucking cool. And they all spin around and they bring out their weapon of choice again with the ribbons and the slingshots and the fans and the rapier, and they all have this moment, and it's mate, it's so fucking good.
And
it's so good.
Do you know what I had written down as my one note?
What?
Sailor Moon. We are so in sync tonight.
Sailor Moon. It really is though. There's no other way to describe it. It's that moment where they moment of every episode where they go up and they turn around and they're Wonder Woman into their costumes. And it's amazing because again, they didn't need to go that hard, but they did. So in a cloud of glitter, these girls stomp onto the floor and they start kicking ass. They are fighting together. They are fighting separately. They no one gives a shit. They are just crushing it. Helen is there. She throws in a few moves, uses a broom to take down 3 musketeers of her own, and then continues sweeping. It's oh hey Helen. It's so fucking good. Philippe manages to grab Louis and take him into the underground passages, and the girls are where's the prince? I don't know, I thought you had eyes on him. I was a bit busy. But they spot again all of this mystery around the castle. They spot his mask due to the entrance of the passageway, so they go through it. Literally my notes are you fucking kidding me? Unbelievable. It's amazing. They hunt him down, they chase them down, they fucking stand up against Philippe, they expose everyone for what they're gonna be, they rescue the prince, they do it in front of everyone, and it's feminism was born that day. I'm so empowered. I can do anything.
You can. It's
so good. It's so fucking good. And it all comes to a head. They've rescued it and they've exposed the villain. The cat gets to do some shit. The cat gets to finally have a standoff with this fucking dog. But again, it doesn't outstay its welcome. It doesn't last too long. It lasts 2 quips.
It does.
And then it's
over.
I
mean, this is what I'm talking about, the Scrappy Doo moment. Let me at him. I'm Scrappy.
Yeah.
And I just think, oh no. And don't distract me from what's interesting. But it's fine because it's a subplot. A tiny little subplot.
Not even a subplot. It's a side moment. Because the cat always wanted to be a musketeer, which again I heard twice.
Yeah, it did the pun twice. It did the pun at the beginning and at that moment. And indeed,
again, it wasn't like those dancing dogs. They didn't keep coming back to them because there was enough going on that they almost did it just to tick that Barbie box. It's someone came into the boardroom and was we haven't had a fucking animal make some stupid quip.
And actually,
recently. And there you go,
isn't the second quip by the horse?
Yeah.
Alexander makes it, which is kind of, I get this sort of fatherly vibe from Alexander the horse towards Miette, and so I think it is quite nice for him to make the quip. It's
sweet and it's supportive and it's fun, and it's fun to watch this dog get beaten up because the dog is so horrible. And again, it doesn't last too long. We save the prince and it's amazing. And then stop me if I've forgotten everything, but then we come back and they're these women were kicked out of the castle, they're not meant to be here, they're here illegally, how dare they? And they're oh my god, is this true? They obviously take their masks off and they're oh, it's you, oh my god, how could you? And then they do that amazing thing where he's you don't belong in this. I can't believe you've done this. I know exactly where you belong. Fake out, because then it's you belong as a musketeer.
Yay!
And they have their new shiny musketeer outfits, which have the like what that like piece of fabric down the front, like the
Tunic.
uniform and the
Yeah.
floppy hat. It's so great, really good stuff. And like they're standing up on their podium and they're being given this honor of becoming a member of the Royal Musketeers, all four of them. And they look over to Helen in the crowd and she's so proud of them and they're so grateful for her. And it's like at the end of Prey when she comes back and she looks at that girl like, I'm a fucking sucker for moments like that. Like, have a woman that succeeded in a place where women never have before, look at a girl younger or older than them in satisfaction and support, and I will cry. I wept. I burst into tears. I burst into tears when they looked over at Helen, and I was just like, this movie is phenomenal.
And Helen
like,
Helen gets a promotion. She replaces Madame de Bossé.
Yes. So she's now in charge of the castle. She gets to boss her around. It's so good. And then Corinne goes up to the prince, and the prince comes up to her and he's like, hey, I was wrong. Women can be musketeers. You're welcome. So we're in a progressive kingdom where we're learning and growing and the youth are bringing in better things. And he's like, do you want to go on a date sometime? And then Monsieur Travell turns up and he's like, musketeers, we've heard of a ruckus in the street and we need all of you on board to go and help solve the mystery and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, hold that thought. We're going to have to save that date for another day. Come, musketeers. They don't kiss. They don't nothing. And the four musketeers ride off into the sunset.
To do
and
musketeering.
It's so good.
Also,
It's so good.
do you remember one of the girls has got a crush on King Louis? Oh,
Yes.
Prince Louis, Louis the 13th, as you know, Prince Louis. Yeah, that's what we'll call him. But they don't make a big deal about that. There's no
scrappy bitchiness because she was just a dreamy romantic. That was her like thing. She was like, oh, he's a prince and he's handsome and therefore I'm on board with it. But like Corinne and him clearly have a vibe and everyone's supportive of that. And like she's like, next Friday maybe, like, gotta go, mate.
But
they've got to go musketeering.
And that to me is what heightens it, because so often in a fairy tale or in a sort of a Disneyfication of a fairy tale, to be honest, and there have been a couple of Barbie movies which fall into this trap, is that the end goal is that Barbie marries the prince and lives happily ever after. Now they've messed around with it. Prince and the Pauper sort of messed around with it a bit, didn't it, by having lots of twins hooking up with the twin you didn't think they would. But there's none of this. It might happen, but first and foremost, she's a musketeer.
She's a fucking
and she might die tonight.
Yeah,
in the streets,
but she'll die doing what she loved.
Exactly, and I kind of like that. So it sort of works on so many levels. And
then the credits roll, and that fucking slap of a song comes straight back in, and it's like, woo, feminism, yeah, Bobby and her friends get up to be musketeers.
It's called All for One, performed by Keely Hawkes Presley.
So good. It's so good. Oh my god. Like, it flew by, it was enjoyable. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it was a masterpiece.
I'm not going to go that far, but it is definitely yeah, like I said earlier, it's the very, very first time I wish it was longer. It's the very first time I didn't sit there writing a list of everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's really entertaining. It's really quite progressive. The things, you know, there have been things that have bugged me about other movies that this movie maybe does a little bit of, but it didn't bug me at all because it's just done so well. And also coming off, I mean, Christmas Carol was okay. Well, Christmas Carol was quite good, actually. I think you liked it a little bit more than me, but we've had two fucking dogs of a movie in the last few episodes, and
we really have.
I don't know. I mean, we may have had to have a talk about cancelling the podcast if this was as dreadful as some of them.
Yeah,
because I don't think I could do it for another 20 movies.
No,
just
that's
fair. Slagging it off. But not only is it really good, I think it's really good, and something's going to happen that I didn't think was going to happen.
Oh, I know. I was like, am I gonna have to rewatch The Princess and the Pauper? Because I don't. Immediately, I was like, cool, well, that's coming at number 2. And then I was like, wait, oh my God.
Yeah.
Is it gonna.
Well,
Oh God.
I think
Oh my
think
God.
it's the best one we've seen.
And like The Princess and the Pauper it's a musical, so it's a very different beast to compare it to. It's a musical in a way that this one isn't. It's got some really great moments in it. It's got another great villain, great animals, like really strong stuff from The Princess and the Pauper. But they're musketeers and they ride off into the sunset together. And oh my God, is this going to be in first place? Oh my
Well,
God, I didn't think this was going to happen.
For me, right, so far, Poor Princess and the Pauper and Mermaidia, I think are quite clearly a step above all the others.
Yes.
Right? I think, and I think there's this sort of middle section, Mariposa, Swan Lake, Fairytopia, all the way down to Christmas Carol. All right? So the sort of the 3 to 8 section. I want to put this at number 1. This is the most fun I have had watching a Barbie movie since we started this experiment.
Fun.
Now, does that mean I might not go back and say, actually, I think we're a bit hard on... No, I don't think we've been a bit hard on anything, actually. I think I think actually the more debate will be around sort of 9, 10, 11, 12, those kind of, they'll swap around, right? Princess and the Pauper was really good. And we were maybe 12 Dancing Princesses. Always looks a bit low to me when I know it's the favourite of a lot of people. But,
yeah, completely.
But this is everything all those other films worked up to, right?
Yeah.
And it's the animation is superior to any other Barbie movie we've had. We haven't even talked about that. Yeah, I joked about them having a new trick with their little sort of cat sort of little twisty thing she does.
Acrobatic
yeah, I
stuff,
can't think what it's called. Cartwheel sort of thing without your hands.
Yeah, like flip. Yeah.
I think it handles multiple characters much better than most of the other films. It doesn't nothing ups. The worst thing I can say, they're called a fucking chateau, not a castle. I think that should tell you everything. And I don't really like musicals, right? So if I'm going to have to choose between a musical based on a classic novel and this kind of sort of postmodern version, it's not really postmodern, it's sort of Shrekky version of a classic novel. And we accept that this is the last classic novel that's ever going to be done.
Yeah.
I'd be happy number 1 or number 2, which sounds terrible, but I think it's my favourite.
I think I have to agree with you. I think the outfit, like even her outfit at the beginning in the farm was like, give me a Barbie with that outfit on. It's this like maroon, like riding trousers with like a floppy shirt and like a waistcoat type thing. Oh, it's so good. The She-Ra moment as they rip out of the ball gowns into their homemade musketeer outfits and the actual musketeer outfits at the end, like the amount of Barbies, like I loved that there were 2 in The Princess and the Pauper, and it's the same with Mermaidia. There was like 2. The strong ones seem to have been where there's been like more than one Barbie as a protagonist, and this has 4, 5 if you count Helen.
And let me give you some more. No Shelley Kelly. Yeah, that's a plus point to me. No creepy little big-eyed things, right? And also, the other girls had equal. They were equally as important. So remember, some of those Fairytopia ones. She's got this best mate that gets told to go back home after the first 10 minutes, right? There's none of that. There's none of the all 4 of the Musketeers, which is always the problem with all the 3 Musketeers interpretations, that there are 4 of them, have equal validity. Validity, not the word I'm looking for, but they all have a part to play. Yeah,
completely.
And therefore, I want it at number 1.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I want it at number 1. It's a wave of feminism that I can get on board with.
And you didn't think I was going to say that, did you?
I don't know, because I was enjoying myself so much that I was like, how can he not? Like, how can he not?
I always worry, because I think we've only fundamentally disagreed once or twice, right? Like really fundamentally. And as we spoke last week, I think there's a fag paper between some of these movies.
Oh yeah.
And the more I talk about it, and the more we've spoken today, and as excited as you've got, I don't even think it's just up for debate. I think this is easily,
hands down,
number 16. How many movies is the 16th one the best?
I know, right?
In a series, right?
It's madness.
I mean, how many movies have got 16? But maybe Halloween or something. I don't know.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, actually, there are quite a few Lone Wolf and Cub movies. But anyway, usually when you get this far, we're
they start.
But instead of there being lazy, this one feels just like the accumulation of everything we've been so far. Yeah. Even like the one girl that talks in a kind of a modern patois. That comes from Barbie Diaries. I can think of drawing things from all of them. So yeah, shock, horror.
How exciting!
Don't think we're ever going to say this again, but I think we're going to enter into a second phase where just they're not going to look like these films anymore.
Yeah, we're dealing with a different beast.
And we will have to reset our judgment.
Oh my god, how exciting! So yeah, this is the end of Barbie Phase 1. We now move into, when you type in Barbie movies into Wikipedia, it's like a separate Excel document starts up with, as you say, a different tone, a different vibe. I think we're going a lot more modern now, and I need to adjust myself for that, because I've loved these genre pieces and I've loved these literary pieces.
Yeah. I mean, the next one is Barbie in a Mermaid Tale, which got a sequel of its own. But it's contemporary. It's Malibu Barbie, the classic Barbie. But I'm just looking at the cover of it, and it's coming from a completely different place. I'm all right. I mean, next episode could be a downer, everybody, when we find out exactly what we've got ourselves into.
Yeah. Phase 2. Oh man, how exciting. This is great. So I guess, we'll tune in for whatever comes next.